I'm going to take that test. The rice purity test, I'm going to take that.
It's not the rice purity test.
No, the one I'm talking about I'm going to take. The rice purity test. I'm going to take that.
No, it's called the race purity test.
Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. There is a rice purity test, right?
Yes.
Right. That's the one I'm going to take. I'm not going to take that schluppy thing you did over the weekend.
I didn't do it during the weekend. I did it during the last break.
Are you not? Never mind. Hey, friends, it's the last hour of the Matt Murphy Show, maybe ever, so after the nincompoop segment that we just experienced. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you get that meeting notification, too, tomorrow, 9 a.m.?
Yeah, something about Ken Weaver doesn't have to be there because he didn't participate. I don't know.
I think we're screwed.
That's why I just cover the news, boys.
I don't blame you, Ken. Ken had a great nincompoop today. Jackson, you had a great nincompoop today, but it's hard. It's hard to beat them when they got it coming and going, right? And this fella apparently did. So he had the fake boobies and the fake hair and something coming out of the back end. So big winner for me today. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of the story, but you know what? I didn't do it.
Would you say you kicked us right in the butt?
I would say that, yes. I think Dave speaks for all of it because Dave guessed how he had attached the tail.
Oh, yeah?
And he guessed incorrectly. And so I corrected him, and I told him how it was attached. And his response, I think, speaks for all of us. His response is, and I quote, "Mother of God."
Didn't somebody guess what the accoutrement he had on was?
Yes.
You couldn't say on the radio.
Yeah. No, one person said, "I'm guessing this or that," and I said both. Anyway, big winner. If you missed Nincompoops, I don't encourage you to go back and listen to it because it's pretty bad. 10 minutes after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking about Donald Trump cleaning up Washington, D.C. We're going to try to clean up our act and get back to that subject matter. Marsha Blackburn's deflecting on whether or not she plans on debating John Rose, 6th Congressional District Representative, who is running for governor. That election primary happens in less than a year now, so we're talking about it. Beto O'Rourke. You know, I would play this from Beto. I've got to censor Beto, though. Let's make sure that I can do this. I'm going to try to censor him, but I might need your help in doing so. Let me see this. Beto O'Rourke. Oh, here it is. Here's Beto, who can't manage not to curse halfway through this, but I got the self-censorship button, so I'll take care of this. Beto says, when we get back in charge, we're going to drive that thing like we stole it.
Next time we win power, we're going to drive that car like we stole it. We're going to legalize every dreamer's parents, every hardworking American doing backbreaking work that makes this country so first place even greater as U.S. citizens.
That's right. He couldn't help but say the old GD there on stage because that makes him cool, right? He said, we're gonna drive this car like we stole it. Well, you mean like you're gonna drive it like the 2020 election? That's what you should have said. We're gonna do this thing like 2020. We're gonna drive this thing like we stole it. I mean, is that not a perfect thing for a Democrat to say? We're gonna drive it like we stole it. We're going to legalize every dreamer. We're going to legalize every dreamer's parents. We're going to legalize every illegal. We're going to open up the borders. We're going to make it happen. I mean, that is speaking truth, I suppose, because that's the Democrat game plan now. Open it up. We're going to get more crime up in this thing. Donald Trump stopping crime. We're going to get more crime. Donald Trump wants to shut down crime in D.C. We want more crime. Donald Trump wants fewer illegal aliens. We want more illegal aliens. Is that where we are in America now? That's what he's saying. They're not saying they want to reform immigration policy. They're not suggesting that we have a back-end problem once we get this thing cleaned up. They never wanted to clean it up. And if there's anything you need to understand about the Democrats, understand this. They always lied to us. Every single one of them that I've had on this radio show, well, of course we don't want illegal aliens. We just want to clean up the immigration system. And we need to do these things simultaneous to one another in order to affect the change. And we need to make room for the people that have embedded roots into our country. They never wanted to clean it up. And so you say, well, the gangbanger illegals, you want them out of here? Oh, of course we do. No, they didn't. That's what's happening, and this is the way they're responding. It's Ryan's turn. God bless you, Ryan. You've held for a long, long time, and I appreciate those moments. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing? Sounds
Great.
like you're having a lot of fun.
We're having a good time, Ryan. Thank you for your call.
Well, I got to tell you, if we could go back to mini skirts and doobies, I think that the world would be a lot better off instead of beating the crap out of each other in the streets.
Amen.
And I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I left at 17 to go to Frederick, Maryland, to work on a dairy farm with my father. This was 1995. And Frederick, Maryland's about a hop, skip, and a jump away from D.C. So I thought, hey, I'm here. Let me go see it. And, you know, I've always been into art, always been a painter. And so the portrait gallery was where I really wanted to go and see. And when I got there, I'm walking up to the portrait gallery, and there's, you know, money changers, spoon benders, graffiti, porno theaters right outside of the portrait gallery. And that was 30 years ago. So for somebody like Jeffries to come out with his stuff today saying that, you know, we're at a 30-year low, you know, it's always been there. And so, you know, thank God for Donald Trump to come in and start cleaning this stuff up, because it's always been there.
Well, it certainly has. And you know what? They're actually, it's fascinating, Ryan, what they're doing. They're left with trying to go against a Trump, but what is there to go against on this front? Donald Trump has decided in 2023 there were 280-something murders in Washington, D.C., and I think that number went down in 2024 to 180-something, and so they're defending the 180-something, saying, well, the murder rate's going down. It's still 180-something in a city of 700,000 people. That's less than the size of Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know how many murders we had in Nashville, Tennessee, but I would suggest 180-something or 280-something. That's unacceptable. Traffic crimes and carjackings and muggings and rapes and murders, violent criminals on the streets of Washington, D.C. And sadly, because of the prosecutors that are put in place, they get out of jail. We need to stop cashless bail, and if you need to do that by a congressional action, do it by congressional action, friends. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Logan is next up. Logan, thank you for your patience. How are you?
Hey there, Matt. Pretty good. You?
I'm well, thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to pass along the information about for Mr. Danny from last Thursday from Arion, Tennessee.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The one that was having trouble with the nerve damage and the pills and everything.
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, my wife has got something similar from a result from a car wreck where she was hit, but and she was on and off painkillers and really couldn't do much. Couldn't even stand up straight. There's a device called a spinal cord stimulator made by Boston Scientific, and that has given her back pretty much her life. It's an implantable device, rechargeable battery inside your body, and what they do is they attach leads onto your nerves in your spinal column, and it calms them down more or less. Where she can actually stand up straight, she can walk, and stay mobile for short periods of time. But before, she was confined to the couch or the bed. So thought that might be something Mr. Danny could look into and might help him regain a little measure of life.
Well, I certainly hope, Logan, that Danny is listening. I hope that he's hearing you, and he'll get that message. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a game changer for her because she thought that
I bet
she was going to be wheelchair bound and pretty much homebound. But now she actually can drive again. She's leading somewhat of a partial normal life. So it's a real game changer.
I love it, Logan. I hope that Danny listens. Tell me the name of it again so I can look it up, or I can have it ready if Danny calls in.
Okay, the device is called a spinal cord stimulator.
Okay.
And the company that makes it is called Boston Scientific.
Okay.
And they've got representatives through most of your major hospitals.
Right.
And like I said, it's a surgical procedure where they go in and attach the leads to your spinal column on the inside, and they do a test first with a battery pack that you wear like on your belt or little you know, portable device. And then if it works for you, then they schedule the surgery. They go in and implant a rechargeable battery just under the skin. Hers is close to her right kidney. If you don't know it's there, you wouldn't even know it's there. But and she wears a belt like once a week with a little rechargeable puck, and it recharges the battery, and usually lasts for about a week. You've got a little remote, almost like a little TV remote, and you can change the settings. They've got like a dozen different programs, and because if you keep it on the same program, your brain will kind of learn that program,
Right.
and the effectiveness will go away. But if you change programs on a regular basis, then it mitigates those signals. Hers, she had like shooting pains in the bottom of her feet. She said it would change like she's standing from hot asphalt to standing on pins. And also, like I said, she couldn't stand up straight. It would just make her back convulse, and it's pretty much cleared up almost all of that.
Wow. That's cool.
So
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's really neat what they can do with some technology these days that wasn't around just a few years ago.
I certainly hope Danny's listening. Danny, if you are, let me know, and if not, I'll try to get the message to him somehow. Logan, thank you for the info.
Yes, sir. You got my number, so if you need any more information, don't hesitate to call. I'm in Paris, Tennessee, so not too far from you.
Well, I love it, and Danny. Obviously, if you missed the call, Danny called last week. It was just it moved my heart a little bit because Danny, you could tell how frustrated he was, how just over it he was, the pain the debilitating pain that he discussed experiencing, and he said he wants to give up. And as I told him then, I don't want him to give up. There's hope out there somewhere, and there's a lot of people that want to love on him and shower him with prayer. And Danny, there's another tangible way that we can demonstrate that love is offering you some of these opportunities to maybe find some hope in technology, spinal cord stimulation. So there you go. 615-737-9986. Dave is in Columbia. Dave, what's happening?
Hey, Matt. Hey, you were talking about marijuana earlier, and I wanted to weigh in on that. But before I do, my wife Kelly listens to you every day, and our second youngest daughter just got married this past weekend.
Oh,
and I'm gonna give a shout out to my wife because she's our rock, and she kept us all sane throughout the whole weekend.
wow.
You ever hear? There's a saying, if you're not smart, marry well.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, married up. I'm married up. Yeah, no, I get it. Dave, your little girl got married?
Yeah, Rachel.
Wow. When was this? Where was this?
Saturday. No, they live down in Birmingham.
Okay.
So we had to pack the whole show up and go down there.
Man.
It was a beautiful weekend, though.
You're did the father of the bride bust up at any point? You a little get a little dusty on you?
I actually officiated the wedding.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so you're standing up there, and you want trying to keep it all, but my lips quivering.
Yeah, I get it.
Trying not-
Well, I don't get it. I don't have any kids. I can't possibly get it, but
Yeah.
I understand it.
But hey, what you were talking about earlier, and I loved your rant, by the way. But I'm a libertarian, and I used to think exactly like you do about drugs, and I'm like, especially marijuana, stuff like that. If it's, if you can grow it in your backyard or wherever, I mean, why is that illegal? But I got to thinking about it, and my opinion has changed a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. If it suddenly becomes legal, I'm going to grow some out here in my backyard. I ain't smoked it in about 30 years, but I wouldn't mind some. But you hear about gateway drugs. You look at these communities where it has been legalized, and they've seen an increase in other drug problems, like harder drugs. And you think about it, why do kids smoke weed? Well, because it's taboo. It's forbidden. That's what kids do. They want to do those things that are, that they're not supposed to do, and that just increases the enticement for them. That's
like
my
drinking?
only concern about.
Like drinking?
Well, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. That was the same reason why me and my buddies, I grew up in Louisiana. We'd sneak around and try to get some beer and everything, go out in the cotton fields and drink a bunch of beer and go to high school dance. But it's the same thing, and that's my concern. I do think it needs to be regulated. I don't think maybe the answer is decriminalizing it as opposed to harder drugs. Maybe there's a step there that could go on. But I used to say it should all be legal. And now I look back and you look at some of these communities where it is legal now. Friends who visited Denver and some of these other cities, it's like
here's the thing. Here's the thing that bothers me more than, about this conversation. Not this conversation, but about the subject. When people say, "Well, those harder drugs should be legal or illegal," right? They're talking about opioids. Because
in some cases, yeah.
Well, they're talking about opioids only if you route it through the pharmaceutical industry, so the pharmaceutical industry can make their opioid project or research proprietary and then own the patent to it. And at that point, suddenly, it's okay that it's legal.
I agree with that 100%. But you also can't ignore that we have a very real drug problem in this country.
I agree. And the drug problem has largely been created by the same pharmaceutical industry that controls the patents on so many of these drugs that are legal if prescribed by a doctor.
Well, there's a reason why some of these things should be prescribed by a doctor, right? What I'm most concerned about, and you see it in communities now, look at the areas that have already legalized pretty much everything. And what do you see in those communities?
I see the same thing in the state of Tennessee that I see in those communities, Dave.
Well, not to the degree that you see in these other areas.
Well, I would beg to disagree. I watched a guy shoot up at the park right down from Ascend Amphitheater like 3 months ago. Was shooting up in public, 1:00 in the afternoon. I get what you're saying, and I understand there's a healthy balance there, and I understand that you don't want to encourage the use. My argument has always been that we're not discouraging the use by illegalizing it. What you're doing is creating a bunch of criminals. I've got to go right now. This is a great conversation. Thank you for calling. I appreciate the disagreement on it. I appreciate the concern that you have for the local community and for the state community and for the United States of America. It's 25 after the hour on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy with you. We've got about another 20 minutes or so before we'll call it a Monday. If you want to jump on board, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. You can do that, obviously, via the phone lines. You can also do that on the Super Text line. 3131 writes in and says, I work with a person who smokes a lot. Sometimes I ride with him. He has zoned out on me twice while driving, almost hitting a FedEx truck. I used to smoke, but mainly the reason I'm assuming you mean marijuana. 3131, right? I smoke, but mainly the reason I don't is because if it got too potent for me, so I know how it feels. How would you regulate workplace partying? Well, you regulate the workplace in the same fashion as you regulate alcohol in the workplace. It's not that hard. There are obvious responsibilities that we need to take on ourselves in terms of how we comport ourselves in society. And just as it is expected of me that I am not going to be intaking anything that would affect the health and safety of others, I'm obviously not. I have to take that upon myself, and I have to take responsibility that if I do that, if I'm smoking a joint or drinking alcohol or taking prescription pain medication as prescribed by my doctor, and I get behind the wheel of a vehicle and I am impaired in some fashion and I cause others harm or put others in danger, I have to take responsibility for that. Now, several of you have asked me, and I wrote a couple of these down because, I kind of went through my libertarianism. I was questioned, you're no conservative, and I'm not a conservative. I'm a libertarian. And so it's the old saying from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, with great liberty comes great responsibility. And it does not immunize you from responsibility that I give you the freedom and ability to do certain things. For example, and the question was, well, if you're a believer in freedom, how do you feel about seatbelt laws? Well, I'll tell you. I do not believe that an adult passenger in any vehicle should be compelled to wear a seatbelt. I do believe that an adult driver, the operator of the vehicle, should be compelled to wear a seatbelt. The reason that I believe that is not because of the driver's health and safety. It's because of the health and safety of other people on the roadway. Statistically, and you can see study after study demonstrates that in the event of a roadway mishap, an accident, that if you have your seatbelt on, that is going to give the driver of that vehicle a better opportunity to mitigate the damage in that accident. So, if you're thrown from the driver's seat and then you flip the car and you land on me versus you're not thrown from the driver's seat and you manage to avoid flipping the car. You understand what I'm saying? It's a subtle nuance, but it's a very important one. That seatbelt and your ability to manage your vehicle, at that point, that seatbelt's not for you. It's for me, the guy in the other car. It's for me, the guy across the median from you. So I am compelled that because of the health and safety of others, that those seatbelts can potentially protect me from you. It's not about you. You get to make that decision on your own, which leads me to point number 2. Several of you have asked me about my thoughts on motorcycle helmet laws. I believe that I ride a motorcycle. Many regular listeners know that I have a bike and I ride regularly, and I wear a helmet when I ride. I'll wear an open-face 3/4 helmet riding around town. Typically if I'm on the road for any length of time, I'm going to want my closed-faced helmet. I have a bucket helmet, but I don't like it. I just don't care for it. And that's just a personal choice. That said, if you desire to ride a motorcycle without a helmet, that's fine. That's on you because you're not endangering anyone other than yourself. However, if you get into an act, I believe that insurance companies should have the ability to put a rider on your insurance that says that they are not compelled to pay any portion of your medical care that is required if the damage was done due to a lack of helmet use. Look, if you want to squash your brain on the pavement, that's your business. That's your business. If you want your innards to go splitty splat, like I see the deer on I-40 all the time, that is your business. But I should not be, if you turn yourself into a veggie, I should not be compelled through my insurance rates going up to pay for ultimately your medical care. Does that make sense to everybody? You don't pass that cost along to me. You kind of have to absorb that cost on your own. Take responsibility for the consequences of your actions. I'm already paying a premium for motorcycle insurance to begin with. And, I pay a healthy amount for health insurance as well. So, once again, laws and the government, they are here to protect our rights and to make sure that we are comporting ourselves in a manner that offer you protection for yours. I do not believe, this blows people's minds, but I talk about it all the time. I don't believe that we should have drunk driving laws to protect the drunks. We have drunk driving laws to protect the sober people from the drunks. And they have become, they don't stop it. The penalties have become bad enough where I hope that we're mitigating it to a little degree, but I watch them. Look, man, I work on Music Row. I see it every day leaving here at 7:15, 7:30. Laws should exist to protect your rights within a society. and to penalize those who are willing to violate said same, and to give us a basic direction as to how we're going to comport ourselves in civilized society. Is that fair? And if I choose to engage in activity that is not endangering the lives of others or the rights of others, the government should not, in my opinion, interfere with my ability to comport myself in that activity. We also have laws about the age of majority, meaning we agree as a society that a certain age of individual does not have the ability to make those mature-based decisions as to whether or not they want to drink or whether or not they want to get a tattoo or whatever it might be. And so those apply here too. So that's why if you're a parent, you just can't start handing your kid alcoholic beverages because that child does not fully understand the responsibilities that go along with consuming alcohol, nor do they understand the potential dangers involved in consuming alcohol as well, either. So we've decided as a society we're not going to put that child in danger based on the stupid irresponsibility of an adult, even if they are a parent. Kenny is next up. Hey, Kenny, how are you?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing well. How about you?
Man, I'm great, Kenny. I hope I'm glad you are, and I'm glad you called.
Well, I'm your buddy down here in Grovetown, Georgia, and I have firsthand experience on that spinal cord stimulator that the other caller was talking about.
Do you have one?
And I do. And the reason being is because I have 2 herniated discs that they will not operate on because I have cancer and am taking a chemo pill daily because it's not curable. And after 3 months of infusions, straight, twice a week, it caused my disc to blow out. And because of that, it also caused osteopenia, beginning of osteoporosis. And that was the only other option because they wouldn't fuse them, is the stimulator. And it is a true game changer. I recommend it highly to anybody, and it is the exact one that the other fellow was talking about. His wife has Boston Scientific. If Danny can get on that, it's worth it.
I will.
You do have to
go ahead.
You do have to go through a psych evaluation, but once you go through that and they approve you, they give you that temporary one to make sure that it is going to be effective for you before they implant that $11,000 device in you.
Sure.
But, man,
this is incredible. I mean, it really is incredible technology. It's incredible stuff.
I live with 2 herniated discs, and those wires emit an electronic pulse that numb the spinal cord to block the pain. And the only downfall to it is it doesn't help with arthritis. If it were to help with that, it would be a miracle.
Well, yeah, arthritis is a little bit of a tougher nut to crack. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, and thank you, Kenny, for the call. I'm 51 years old. I did not realize, I've heard talk about arthritis all my life. Arthritic pain, rheumatoid arthritis, and other types of arthritis. And it wasn't until my shoulder deal that I really understood, because my doctor told me, well, you tore your labrum years ago, and that destroyed labrum created arthritis in your shoulder. And I'm like, well, what is that? And it occurred to me, I was like, I realize I'm 51. I don't really know what arthritis is. And arthritis is basically, at least in this circumstance, arthritis is bone-on-bone action. little bone-on-bone action, Jackson. Huh?
Huh?
That's not the kind you want, though. It's
Wait.
Oh, I don't think there's any kind you want.
Wait, no.
Bone-on-bone action, Jackson.
What'd you say?
That's not the kind you want. It's not what you want, Jackson, because it hurts. And what I'm telling you is true, that if you get the bone-on-bone going, you grow more bone, and that creates osteophytes. And take it from me, king of the osteophytes. I know. But thank you, Kenny, for the call. I appreciate that. Chris writes in and says, that's why I don't like callers. Well, I bet he doesn't like you either, Chris. How about that?
That's a good response.
Well, I mean, we love you, Chris. You're pithy. I appreciate that. I almost gave the telephone numbers out, but we're out of time, just about. I'll say this, on the marijuana front and on the liberty front. I understand, because some people are now saying, well, with seatbelts, if the passengers get into an accident and they're not buckled up, then they can become a projectile too. Yeah, well, that's true. I make my passengers buckle up anyway, because I don't want to be responsible for something negative that happens to them. And you can either ride in my car or you don't have to. Several of you are asking, well, what about businesses? What about, alcohol doesn't stay in your system like marijuana stays in your system. A business is a private entity. I mean, outside of government run, and that's a different, civil service is a little bit different. But for privately owned businesses, they get to set up their rules that go above and beyond what the laws say about these types of activities. Believe it or not, we're at an at-will state. So if Jackson's working for me and I say to Jackson, I don't believe in alcohol use. I don't believe in alcohol consumption at all. And if you want to work for me, pal, you're going to make a pretty penny, but you are going to be alcohol-free. And I get to test you anytime I want to. If there's any alcohol in your system whatsoever, you don't get to drink on the job or off the job. And Jason's like, well, how dare you tell me what I'm to do off the job? Well, you don't have to take the job. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So if a business says no pot and we test, well, then you have a choice to make. You either continue to use marijuana and you don't work there, or you stop using marijuana and you work there, or I guess the third choice is you can continue using marijuana and risk it.
Drink a bunch of water.
But let me promise you this, when you get caught and you get fired, well, don't say I didn't tell you so, because that's on you. 52 after the hour on Super Talk. You want to explain what we were just talking about there, Jackson?
I like my job, so no.
Very good. Hey, C-Note, maybe Mandis will interview Reeves. We've already interviewed Reeves on a couple of occasions. That would be Lee Reeves, the candidate for the 7th Congressional District. I'm inviting everyone and all of them to come on. I've not personally invited every single individual that has declared in the 7th Congressional District, but we've had Lee Reeves on. We've had Jody Barrett on. We've had Gino Bolso on. We have had Afton Bain on in the Democrat primary. We've invited Matt Van Epps on. I haven't heard back from him. If you know of a 7th Congressional District candidate that is to your liking and you want me to invite them, just hit me up, matt@murphyshow.com, matt@murphyshow.com, and I'll be happy to invite them as well. That's what we are here for. Listen, folks, I so appreciate you, whether we agree or disagree on any number of topics. This is the United States of America, the greatest country on God's green earth, and we live in the finest state in the greatest country. Mark Levin's coming up next. Until next time, have a great evening, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long.